Amidst poverty and the lures of gang and violence, youth are finding hope through books. The Acts of Love team is meeting them on the streets and inspiring them to read by distributing books. Let's welcome Pastor Will Hall, who started the Acts of Love ministry. He's also pastor of St. James Evangelical Lutheran Church on the south side of Chicago. We also welcome Morgan Friesen, an 8th grader at Gary Comer College Prep Middle School, and Kayla Johnson, a junior at Gwendolyn Brooks College Preparatory School. Both are members of the Lincoln Memorial United Church of Christ. Can you tell us more about what the Acts of Love is?
Well, Acts of Love is, first, it's about human rights, focusing on the wellness of young people saturated in urban poverty. And secondly, it's basically social services, different resources to help kids physically, intellectually, and emotionally. And so, like I said, our commitment is to young people that live in saturated urban poverty throughout the world.
You talk about your commitment to these children. Can you also tell us more about the calling to love all people and help to educate your urban youth that is a part of the Acts of Love ministry?
Well, I think when we look at love, love is universal. Everybody wants to be loved. Love takes away any type of segregation, religion, politics. Love is what God is. God is love. And so one of the things that we decided to do with Acts of Love is to take love and make love a reality. Oftentimes we romanticize love, but love is a verb. It's based on what you do. And so Acts of Love is committed to doing things rooted in love to help young people that don't have much.
How does reading books help empower low-income youth?
Well, I think, first of all, when we look at the fact that 3 out of 4 kids that live in poverty, and we're talking about less than $24,000 a year per home, don't own their own books. Secondly, even here in Chicago, we have 19% of all kids that go to Chicago public schools are homeless. When we look at shelters, most kids that go into shelters, whether they're for 2-3 months or 2 to 3 days, it's kind of hard to carry something with them that's just their clothes. So the reason why we focused on books is because it's been statistically proven that if a child doesn't know how to read by the time they're done with 2nd grade, the likelihood, 73% of them will most than likely be a part of the criminal justice system. Even when we look at bullies, the emotional stability of young people, most bullies and most people who are in trouble don't know how to read. So we gave a book first to just help young people that don't have access to books. Just 2 years ago, we just started opening up libraries again. That was a budget cut across the state of Illinois. And so when we talk about just having pure access to their own books, not returning them back, not giving them back, that's the reason why we gave, because we wanted to spark the imagination. We are what we read, not what we see on TV. And so we wanted to say to young people that don't have much, dream, look beyond where you live.
Well, we have 2 amazing youth here that are taking part in the Acts of Love ministry. Could you tell us what made you decide to take part in distributing books?
I wanted to do this because I feel like knowledge is power, and mind is a terrible thing to waste. So if you don't have knowledge, you don't have anything. So for people who unfortunately who live in the impoverished neighborhoods, education is their only way out of the hood, basically.
I really wanted to do it because I know how it feels when children don't get their education in, and how when people always ask what they want to be in life, some people don't really they don't know what they want to be in life because they don't have their education to come in first. So I just really wanted to just let them see their smiles on their faces receiving the books.
Why is it important to reach children outside of the church?
Well, I think that when we look at Jesus' ministry, Jesus didn't spend much time in the temple, not much time in the synagogues. Jesus, out of reverence and out of ritual, upheld those customs. But Jesus was with the poor, fighting injustices and fighting oppression. And so for me, I believe that church is a means to keep the fire going. It's just like if you were to barbecue. When you keep coals together, that's how you cook. But if you take the coals out, one by one, they'll stay hot for so long. So I think Sunday morning and Bible study is good to keep you hot and engaged. But all the problems are around the church, the building. And so outside of the church is where Jesus would be. And so I feel that in the streets, in the lowest part hearts of cities Jesus would be if he was alive today. So I think it's the fulfillment in that blueprint that we find in Scripture that Jesus was committed to serving and fighting on behalf of the poor. That's what inspired me to go straight into the worst of the worst.
And now let's welcome Miracle Burrs into the conversation. She's an 8th grader at Gary Colmer Middle School. Why did you participate in distributing books with Acts of Love?
I participated in this because I live around the neighborhood actually, and I see their struggle each and every day. They're just walking on the streets, not doing anything with nobody and nobody around them to comfort them. And I felt like these books would actually comfort them, and love and all the smiles we bring over to their neighborhood would just give them some more hope and love into their more successful future.
For both of you, did participating in this endeavor make you want to read more?
Yeah, this actually encouraged me to actually want to pick up a book when I got home and actually apply my knowledge to what I know and actually read.
It actually did, because when I got to school, that following 2 days, like after that, I had picked up my book, and at first I was like down about reading it, but once I started to read it more, I was into it, and I was like, you know what, they got the chance to read it, I'm gonna read too.
Do you have any moving stories, like moving personal stories about youth that you've helped impact?
Wow, that's a difficult one. I think the hardest one, the one that really was life-changing for me was actually recently in Flint. We, over the summertime, went to 9 cities and gave away over 9,000 books. Each summer we do a summer tour. And I wanted to first of all thank Reverend Danielle, their pastor at Lincoln Memorial, who wanted to celebrate our 4th year anniversary through giving away books right down the street at Parkway Gardens. But going to Flint, Michigan was life-changing. Flint, as you know, number one, they don't have clean water. The filtration problem in Flint, Michigan, neighboring to Detroit. And when I went to Flint, Michigan, gave away books, right across the street was an abandoned trailer park. And to see the toys that were just obviously left behind, and to see some of the trailer parks that were gutted out, and right across the street, no more than 30 feet, you see kids just excited and have no worries in the world. But at one point in time, one of the directors told me that this was their home. So, I mean, Flint, Michigan was difficult for me. It was a hard pill to swallow, a hard drive back, wishing that I could give more than a book. But the kids, when they got the book, the number one question is, can we keep this? Is this mine? And I hear that question a lot, especially when you have kids that don't have much. So Flint sticks to me just a little bit different than any other city, because you see a lot, but to see an abandoned trailer park and kids that used to live right across the street having no place to go but excited to have a book just brought joy and sorrow at the same time.
So Pastor Hall, what is the long-term goal of Acts of Love Ministry?
The objective is clear as clear can be. We want to start a movement. We want to inspire as many grown folks to love young people that don't have much. And so when we look back, our tenets are real simple: community, sustainability, advocacy, and resources. So once we give away 1 million books, we move on to something else in the million. But right now, our resources books, and we're advocating now, especially changing the narrative to see why we must fight for access to books, access to libraries. There's no libraries and librarians anymore. I mean, you know, when we look at these pads that kids have and smart boards, but when you give a kid a pad and say this is your homework, but you don't have internet at home, what good is the pad? And then sustainability. Right now, we're in the midst of building these mini libraries. Right now, we're excited because we're getting ready to start building them in barbershops. We have one now, and the goal at the end of the year is to build 12. So when we look back over how were the 1 million books given away, we sustain communities through mini libraries. We teach parents how to read in our Family Literacy Academy, and then we just have fun on tour like rock stars. And so our 3 tenets are community, sustainability, resource, and advocacy. And so long-term goal is to inspire kids to continue to do their best with what little we give them.
Thank you, Pastor Hall, Miracle, Kayla, Morgan, for sharing your ministry with us. I'm Tisha Mason for Different Drummers in the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.